Christmas has come early. It's official. Yesterday we got all the news about Toyota's upcoming massive change to their lineup, and for Lexus too in the United States in the next 16 months. If you haven't watched that video, definitely check it out. After they let us know that we're going to be getting an EV or fully battery electric vehicle soon in the United States, the very next day we talk about it, they spill the beans on what's going on for their European product strategy and talk a ton about battery electric vehicles and the Lexus end of things as well. And guys, we're gonna dig into it, pick it out piece by piece. I got the no shame notes in front of me and we're gonna have so much fun today. Let's get into it. First things first, you can't build battery electric vehicles without a factory. Toyota has announced that they have just built it's called the ZEV Factory, so zero emission vehicle factory. It's only in Japan. So all of your battery electric vehicles that has a Toyota badge on it or a Lexus badge on it in the foreseeable future is coming straight from Japan. That's probably music to a lot of your guys' ears. Now, the first battery electric vehicle that they're customizing, well, they're saying that it's customized for Europe, but let's be real, it's probably going to be a global market. That's what I'm expecting, but it's going to hit Europe first. It's going to be on the new E-TNGA platform. That's nothing new though. We've been talking about E-TNGA for a long time now. It's co-developed with Subaru, so finally getting put into action here in the first EV. It's going to be RAV4 sized, which makes sense because that is arguably the largest selling size of vehicle and type of vehicle right now is a RAV4 like crossover. The RAV4 sells more than everything else, at least here in the United States. I don't know what I would assume for parts of Europe as well. And to me, it looks a lot like the images that we got about a year and a half ago, when Toyota first gave us their EV strategy and EV plans. So this vehicle is supposed to be unveiled in 2021. It's not going to be available for purchase until 2022. Now, that hasn't been officially stated, but that's what I'm guessing. So reveal maybe late 2021 or second half of 2021, and then it will be available for purchase in Europe in first half of 2022, and United States maybe in second half of 2022 is our first battery electric Toyota. I have a strong feeling this is also going to share the same vehicle with the Subaru e-Voltus. I think it's going to be the same car, just different body claddings. All these EVs are going to be made in a single ZEV factory. Of course, all the future Subaru electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles will be made there as well. That's my hypothesis. Who knows? But it's probably fairly accurate. 6 models are going to be unveiled in total for Europe on this new battery electric platform, E-TNGA. We have the first one, which is a RAV4 size. Actually, let's just get into the image here because this image tells us a lot. All right, the first vehicle here on the left, that is this RAV4 sized vehicle that is going to be the first one. Now, of course, these concept images or renders are about a year and a half old, so don't expect the production versions to be quite like this, but this gives us a really strong idea of the 6 vehicles we're getting. Second one is supposed to be a large SUV. So there it is, 3-row, kind of like a Highlander sized vehicle. And large SUV for Europe isn't necessarily a large SUV for the United States. So if you're hoping for a Sequoia battery electric vehicle, it's not coming anytime soon. Next one is supposed to be a crossover, which the RAV4 one here is already a crossover. So maybe just a tad smaller, maybe a little bit lower to the ground. The next one is supposed to be a compact vehicle co-developed with Suzuki, which is one of the big partners, and Toyota owns a good part of Suzuki as well. The next vehicle is going to be a van. I would expect this one right here, not the one in the back. I think they're replacing that vehicle for the first 6 vehicles anyways with a sedan. So get rid of that last van, and then you have essentially their idea for their product stack, battery electric product stack for Europe and effectively other parts of the world. I would hope we would get some of these to come to America as well. All right, so batteries. They didn't talk a lot about batteries in this press release. However, we do have information going back to last year. They did talk mostly about solid state though, and they said they will have their first solid state vehicle out before 2025. So it seems like it's actually getting closer or under that 2025 year mark that or we've been told. So maybe they're making some advancements when it comes to solid state, but again, solid state's still pipe dream until we see it in actual use, in my opinion. And to round out, in Europe, they will have 60 new or updated EVs by 2025. That's a lot. 70% of them will be hybrid. So hybrid is still their bread and butter here, but it's nice to finally get some EV specific news or battery electric specific news today. So the remaining 30% is going to be a combination of fuel cell, plug-in hybrid, as well as battery electric vehicle. If I were to take a stab, I would say 20% of that remaining 30% is probably going to be plug-in hybrids, while maybe 5 to 7% would be battery electric, and then the remaining be fuel cell. That's just my guess. It could be way off. I don't know the European market that well, but guys, we're not done. We're also going to talk about Lexus today. Holy cow. All right, Lexus wanted to pump up their stats before getting into dropping some huge freaking bombshells. Over 1 million vehicles have been sold in Europe under the Lexus brand. They've had 6 straight years of growth. They're continuing to grow, slay, conquest other brands there. 96% sales of Western Europe are hybrid. It gives us a better, even better idea how important electrification is for Europe, and that's why they're really announcing all these things for Europe first. New drive force control. They're calling it Direct 4. I can't stop thinking about Connect 4, but they're calling it Direct 4. It reminds me a lot of what Nissan uses with their upcoming EVs called E-Force, but it allows torque to be split very evenly or appropriately to individual wheels. So think of it as just a really advanced all-wheel drive system for hybrids and battery electric vehicles. Second page of No Shame notes, and it's mostly numbers when it comes to powertrains. They gave us way more information than I was expecting. And I've heard about a higher power ES hybrid. You know, we got the all-wheel drive non-hybrid here in the United States this past year. It makes me sick to my stomach that they would do that. But the standard hybrid for the ES is really nice, good fuel economy, lacking in power a bit. And then, of course, we have the V6, which is always excellent. It's always sublime. Now, imagine way more torque than the V6 and just as much horsepower, but it's instantly driven, essentially. They started driving these vehicles around the track, and it was our first glimpse of what I think is the next RX, because it's fully electric. And I think the first fully electric Lexus, at least here in the States, is going to be the RX. All right, so what about these power numbers? Well, they flash the numbers in kilowatts and Newton meters. So the engine, the 4-cylinder engine, 174 horsepower, nothing to, brag about, but the front and rear motors each have 107 horsepower. And when you combine it all with Toyota's powertrain efficiencies, when it comes to hybrids, it's about a 74-75% efficiency. When you add them all up, it gets us to 291 horsepower of pretty much instantaneous power, similar to the RAV4 Prime. Then the torque was actually what surprised me a lot here. Just 162 from the gasoline engine. We know gasoline engines aren't really known for their torque, but the front motor, they're expecting 243 pound-feet, and the rear motor up to 177 pound-feet of torque, guys. That's going to give us 436 pound-feet of torque after you figure in losses and efficiency there. So 291 horsepower and 436 pound-feet of torque in an ES. I don't know if it's going to be available in hybrid or plug-in hybrid. My gut's telling me with this amount of electrification, like the RAV4 Prime, that it's likely to be a plug-in hybrid, which I think a lot of us would be excited for, as it would further differentiate the Lexus ES from the Camry and the Avalon here stateside. But with this new Direct/Connect 4 sophisticated all-wheel drive system only for hybrids and EVs, it can turn the ES essentially into a rear-wheel drive vehicle slash all-wheel drive vehicle instead of a fully front-wheel drive as we have now, not counting the ES250 all-wheel drive. That thing can rest in peace in a year or two, for all I'm concerned, because this should be the vehicle we got. This Direct 4 hybrid with roughly 300 horsepower and well over 400 pound-feet of torque. That's what the ES needs, and think about how quiet and smooth that would be. Give it 40, 50 miles of electric-only range. My God, you're talking about perfection. You're talking about perfection there. I don't know what else to say. However, we need to move on to the RX. The RX, in my opinion, is going to be the first electrified, fully electrified powertrain here in the United States. Let's say they call it the RX 500E. When they showed this vehicle, it's in full camo. It looks a little bit boxier than the current RX, so maybe they're making it a true QX60 fighter and a true Acura MDX fighter. Because it looks boxier, it doesn't look as sloped. So maybe, I don't know what that TX vehicle that they trademarked was all about. That could still be a successor to the GX on body on frame. That's still a possibility. But the RX may be grown in size to more comfortably accommodate 3 rows, which I don't think anyone would be upset about because it's such a huge market. Let the NX maybe get a little bit bigger and let the NX kind of fill the role as the 2-row premium SUV from Lexus. I don't know. I don't know what they have planned, but based off of that image or the pictures and video they showed us of that boxy, I'm thinking it's the RX. It could still be the NX, but even then it looks too big for an NX. When it comes to power, they're essentially taking the motor out of the UX 300E, putting that on the front axle and the rear axle. That's a 150 kilowatt motor or roughly 200 horsepower. You put them together, you're going to have 402 horsepower in this RX 500E. Again, my theory, and 441 pound-feet of torque out of it. I think that would be an absolute just slayer in sales as long as they could provide the volume here in the United States. Who knows how much they would sell it for? 70 grand would be my guess for a fully electric RX. I want to touch on a couple more things before we get on the spreadsheet. Yes, we're doing a spreadsheet today. What about the NX 450h Plus now? Do you think that they're going to just port over the RAV4 Primes after this Direct 4 powertrain and I guess sophisticated electrification? And it would make a lot of sense for them to differentiate the NX 450h Plus, the plug-in NX coming next year, even further from the RAV4 Prime. Give it a larger rear motor like we see in this ES Direct 4 hybrid that they showed off. They give us that exact engine and motor setup with roughly 291 plus horsepower and 436 pound-feet of torque. It's close enough to the RAV4 Primes, but got to keep in mind that it's going to be way more performance-oriented and have way more aggressive driving characteristics since you can send so much more torque to that rear motor because that rear motor can handle a lot more compared to the RAV4 Primes. It's got roughly double the amount of power in that rear motor, maybe even more than the RAV4 Prime. I think this would be excellent for them to put in the ES, the NX, maybe even the IS, but the IS is, it's too old at this point. It needs to be on TNGA to be able to handle this platform, but maybe the IS in the future have this 300 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. And what about the Lexus RZ 350 that's trademarked, the 350E? Well, if we go back to the Toyota image, my gut's telling me that it's probably similar to this vehicle here, which is more of a smaller crossover, CHR, like a C-compact vehicle. Maybe it takes the place of the Prius in the future. All right, I think I've said enough at this point in time. We need to go over to the spreadsheet. Dusted this off. I made this about 1.5 years ago. I try to update things a little bit. I might just have to make a new one eventually as we get more information, but I did update it. So we have the UX 300E and the CHR electric. That has 201 horsepower, front wheel drive, and 166 miles in EPA to 186 miles in WLTP. Just a quick refresher before we get into any other vehicles. This is coming from the press announcement that Toyota's already given to us. It didn't come from today, but it's coming from the past, and it's further validated by the information we got today. Why is that? Well, I think it's because of this right here. They say the motors are 80 to 150 kilowatts per motor. Okay, you have 1 and 2 motor configurations. The small motors that they gave us in the ES Direct 4 hybrid today are both 80 kilowatts. So I think this further cements these numbers and just lets us know that Toyota's been working on this for a long time. And we also have the 150 kilowatt motors here as well that I'm guessing both of those can be stuffed into the RX 500E. So you could have a bunch of different variations here. They could have larger motors in the future, especially for when we get larger batteries or solid state batteries, or we want higher performance electrified models on the Lexus lineup. But here we go. Let's get into the RAV4 sized EV, which I think is going to be roughly the same powertrain that we'll see in the RZ350. Even the RZ350 I expect to be a little bit smaller, but 250 to 280 miles of range, depending on where you're at in the world, and about 300 horsepower is my estimation. They put a larger motor in the front or the back, that 150 kilowatt, and then a more modest 107 horsepower engine, which would be the 80 kilowatt motor. We already talked about the RX 500E. You put two of those 201 horsepower engines together, 400 horsepower and over 440 pound-feet of torque potentially. And this would also be like a large crossover. So it's possible you could see that much power in the Toyota end of things. I really think this is an easy way for Lexus to differentiate themselves with just higher output electric motors. And it would be much cheaper than higher output gasoline motors. There's really not that much that differentiates in terms of powertrains from Lexus to Toyota, but this is how they do it with larger motors, a more potent electric systems, and then also this direct 4 hybrid setup where they give the they give the Lexus hybrids much more potent electric motors in the front and more importantly in the back to give it a more zesty driving experience. And then down the road, guys, the LF30 concept that was given to us, by 2030 we'll be seeing massive ranges due to solid state batteries. Over 400 miles of range should be pretty easy, and then we would be getting over 535 horsepower when they add these large motors in there. So I'm going to cut myself off there. Probably been speaking too long. I'm far more excited today than I was yesterday. I've been waiting for any sort of news and updates from the horse's mouth when it comes to electrification. And I'm thinking a lot of my theories are coming true here, but this direct 4 hybrid powertrain, it actually surprised me. I wasn't expecting for them to give us that much power to the rear wheels, possibly as they're going to be able to do in the ES, the NX, the RX in the future, and I can't be more excited. Of course, the fully electric ones are pretty exciting too, but we know that Toyota would much rather focus, and Lexus for that matter, would much rather focus on hybrids than fully electric vehicles due to the amount of batteries they have to put in the volume of their lineup throughout the world, 10 million vehicles. So guys, it's going to be a raging comment section down below. I'm sure you guys have already smashed a like button. Actually, I'm not sure, but if you haven't, smash a like button, subscribe for more Toyota, Lexus, Japanese, Korean auto news, EV news. I talk a lot about that on this channel, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. It's Christmas, all this whole month, just month of Christmas. Have a good one, guys. Take care and peace out.